All right, everybody, Rob Ferretti here, and a lot of people that want to rent cars or just businesses in general should listen to this advice, because there's ways that people don't look at things and they're very short-sighted, that they don't recognize that they're wasting money that's eating into their profitability and potentially putting them in a crappy situation. Now, I bought more than three, but I've got three cars here that I'm in the process of selling, one being this Aston Martin, and then the Audi R8 and the C63 AMG behind it. Now, the reason I'm selling that is because I recognize that in New York, I'm a seasonal business. Haven't always been that way. I used to be locked into financing that would have me hold on to a car. And a lot of you guys may realize that you are in the same boat, especially if you're not running a rental company, so to speak, so you can't just go sell in and out of cars in 3 or 4 months. I bought these are three cars that I bought probably about 5 or 6 months ago. I bought them, I rent them for a couple of months, I get rid of them in one shot just to get out of them. Now, I'm going to take a little bit of a haircut because it's all that loaded upfront short-term depreciation because I had to buy them retail, and I just essentially sell them at wholesale. Even if I kept them for a day, buying retail, selling wholesale, not generally a good thing, especially because there's a spread there that you don't want to eat. But for me, I look at it very differently. I look at it that these cars all have a sitting cost of being here. The winter time, I've got more cars than I do customers. Now, that doesn't mean that somebody doesn't want to rent the Aston Martin in January, but it doesn't make sense for me to keep that car, to have the utilization be lower on that car throughout the winter. It's better for me to just get rid of the car because cars, especially these ones, are depreciating assets. So that, and especially, in my opinion, in this market, these cars are going to be coming down in value. So for me to sit on something that's coming down in value while paying interest on it, while not renting it as much, it's better for me to just direct the rentals towards other cars that I do want to keep for a longer period of time and get out of these cars. And ready in the spring, when business is picking up again, I'll potentially go buy similar cars or replacement cars, whatever I feel at the time. But sitting on inventory over the winter is not a good strategy. Now, in the past, this is why having all this excess inventory is why we used to go down to Miami. I don't like renting cars in Miami. I love living in Miami. I don't like renting cars down there. The market is far too polluted. When you can go get a Rolls-Royce Dawn, which is a $300,000 car for $699 a day because somebody's just trying to skim off of somebody else's collection, it's not worth even competing in there. I just stay out of the market altogether. That being said, go to Miami, rent yourself a Dawn, $700. It's hard to go wrong until something bad happens. However, but let's take a look at these cars. Aston Martin 2020 Aston Martin Vantage. This one, I don't remember what I paid for it, but around $130,000. And it's now got 9,500 miles on it, 9,600 miles on it, something like that. The further back here, as we come through these cars, which I'm keeping, but both of these cars will be getting sold possibly throughout the winter. I'll explain in separate videos why, and those are just poop marks because it hasn't been cleaned, why that car is still here and I haven't gotten rid of it yet. And then we've got the C63. This is a 2019. I've made I haven't fluffed up the story as to why I bought it. The dealership wanted to move it, and it's a dealership I have a good relationship with, and I like to keep my good relationship, so when they said they wanted to sell it, I said, I'll take it. And this one I paid straight up retail for. I've been taking a little bit of a hit on it. 2019 C63 AMG. It has 22,000 miles on it or so. But this car, like, I rented it out a couple of times. Not the most popular car to rent out. It's not, people are asking for S-classes, generally not C-classes or AMGs. But I drove it around for part of the summer when my other car was being used by somebody else. So it served a purpose. I'll lose a couple of bucks on it. No reason to keep sitting and staring at this thing. This one I was sort of on the fence with. I think next year in the spring I'm going to end up getting the convertible version of this. This was the one car I feel like people were slightly like they would have like rented it if it was a convertible, but it was a coupe. So they would still enjoy it, but they're like, I'll just take a convertible instead. And that drove more business towards the Porsche or the Lamborghini. So it wasn't the price point. It was just the fact that this wasn't a convertible that sort of turned people off. But this is a 2017 Audi R8 V10. It's got 10,500 miles on it. And this one is also going to get sold. This one I'll probably take the biggest haircut on. Overall, if you look at it, if I sit on these things, I'll take a bigger loss than if I get rid of them now. I made money on all of them, not much, but if you look at it this way, these cars saved me money on the Dream Car Tours because I had enough inventory with the excess cars to then have enough extra cars for the Dream Car Tours without sacrificing other business. And they each made enough money that it's going to offset their depreciation and interest expense, and I will end up positive on a whole when I get rid of them. It's like close, it's not a home run, but to make an extra, just say 3 cars for 6 months, laying out 1, 2, 8, and this one I own in cash, this one, shoot, I don't know, say laying out about $300,000 to have $300,000 over 6 months, make it $30,000 or $40,000. It's not the home run, but it's also, it provides other value. So it's not the worst move. But if I kept these cars, and a lot of people don't realize that, if I kept these cars, I've now got something that's further depreciating, paying interest on, and not going out. It's better to just sell them. And even if I buy the exact same cars back, in 6 months, say the guy doesn't sell them, he sells them back to me, maybe a couple thousand more than I sold them to him for, it's still, I'm not incurring interest expense on $300,000 or whatever, $220,000, $200,000, however much I borrowed against these. I'm not paying that interest expense for 6 months over the course of the winter, and I'm only keeping enough vehicles that I need to service my customers throughout the winter. So that's something very important to keep in mind. Keep in mind there's depreciation. Keep in mind there's an interest expense on your vehicles, and instead of just staring at them, if you're flexible enough and have a line of credit or however you're funding your cars to get out of cars and into cars seasonally, it makes a heck of a lot more sense. Rob Ferretti, thank you for watching. If you're interested in buying these before I wholesale them all out, send me a message, rob@superspeeders.com, and I'll happily sell you any one of these or all 3 of these together, and that will be done probably in the next 3 or 4 days. So let me know. Rob Ferretti. See you next time.